Since I've gotten into minimalism over the past couple of years, there's been a ton of things I have stopped buying, both to save money and just to have like less crap in my life. But recently I realized that I'm not just not buying these things in order to save money. And even if I had like unlimited money, there's a bunch of really common dreams, these things that I used to want to buy as a kid, and I think a lot of people really think would make them happy, that I wouldn't buy even if I had the money. First thing is a bigger house. Houses have already gone up so much in size over the past like 50 and 100 years, and yet still everybody thinks that a bigger house would make them happy, when in reality for most people obviously it's going to cost more for upkeep and everything else. But even if you ignore all that, you're gonna have so much more to clean, you're gonna have so much more upkeep. So even if we could afford a bigger house, I just don't think it would actually make us any happier unless it was kind of those intangibles of it's, you know, closer to our friends and family, it's in a better location with a yard. Like we didn't have a yard in the previous house, we have a yard in this house. I'm able to go outside, I'm able to have fires, I'm able to, you know, play outside with my daughter. Those things actually add to our lives. But beyond that, having extra rooms, more expensive countertops, all that kind of stuff doesn't really add anything to our day-to-day lives. A brand new car. So let's say even if I had all the money in the world, it doesn't mean that I would want to just burn it. I think there's better stuff you could do with your money, and buying a new car is very close to burning money. You lose about 20% of the value in the first year. So if you're making payments on the car, you're pretty much immediately underwater. You lose about 15% of the value the next year, and continuing over to like the 3 or 4 year mark. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense to buy a brand new car. Like maybe 4 to 7 or 8 year old car is ideal. It's what we always try to do. When you do that, you can buy a car, drive it for a few years, sell it for roughly what you paid for it. It's in that sweet spot where nothing's really gonna break down too much. It's not gonna lose a bunch of value. I just don't see this value or this desire to have a brand new car constantly that so many people have just because they can afford the payment and they think they deserve it. Even if you can afford it, it's not a good use of money, and I feel like it's generally used as a status thing or just to make yourself feel better or kind of impress your friends. When every time I get a car, even though it's not new, it's fun and nice for a couple weeks, and then it, you know, blends into whatever I had before, where it's something that gets me from point A to point B.
By the way, I wanted to mention this is exactly what I'm doing with my Tesla right now. With what I bought the car for, I should be able to sell it in 2 to 3 years for almost exactly what I paid for it, if not a little bit more. So in essence, I will get to drive this car for free for a couple of years and then probably go back down to a little more reasonable of a car. And it has been like a fun reward, but in the end, it's just a car.
By the way, if you're getting any value out of this, it would mean a ton if you would drop a like and subscribe. It's completely free. I'm kind of anti-pet. I want to be clear, this is for me personally. Everybody is different, but for me, besides the average of like $5,000 a year or whatever it is to own a dog, which we're gonna discount right now, there's a allotted responsibility of having a dog. A lot of my friends, when we talk about our kid, they talk about their kid and they have to go home, let the dog out, walk the dog in the rain, in the snow. They have to think about where it's gonna go while they're at work all day. While there are positives for a lot of people from dogs, there's also a large responsibility. And if your goal is to have a free lifestyle where you can travel more, you can take more time for yourself to do things that are important to you, then maybe having a pet is not the best choice for you. You can do whatever you want to do. This is just me personally, and I might change my mind in the future, but dogs have so many responsibilities, both monetarily and just like time-wise, that I would rather have that time and invest it with my family and, you know, doing things that I enjoy. Expensive jewelry. When me and my wife were looking at different rings, we specifically looked for things that we wouldn't have to worry about. Maybe this would be different if you have like endless millions of dollars. But for me, I ended up getting a tungsten ring because like you can't break this thing, you can't scratch it. I don't have to worry about it. I can do construction with it. It's not gonna get messed up, and I just like having that peace of mind. Most all of these things are for peace of mind. And same thing with my wife, where we could have bought a more expensive ring, but we ended up getting like $1,000 ring that still looks really nice, but it doesn't have a ton of little diamonds that could fall out because we had multiple friends who kept losing their little diamonds and they were stressing about it. We want it to be something we can wear all the time, not worry about kids messing with it, not worry about construction, not worry about if it gets lost or damaged or stolen or whatever. When when things are more valuable, they feel like, at least for me, they take up more space in my mind. Whereas I'm not worried about my jewelry breaking because this was like 30 bucks and this was like 100. And for me personally, I just really love that stress more than having something that was worth $1,000 or $5,000 on my wrist or on my hand or as a necklace. I would just rather not even have that slightest thought ever for an instant of what happens if this breaks. It doesn't really matter.
I want to tell you about the sponsor of this video, Policy Genius. After becoming a parent, I realized that life insurance was something I should probably look into. I probably should have looked into it way before. So if you're doing some financial planning this year and you don't have life insurance or you haven't really thought about it, Policy Genius is a great tool to help you do that. It can help you find the perfect policy to protect your family. And that can give you peace of mind. At least that's what it has done for me, that if something happens, my family is taken care of. And as the provider for my family, that is something that is super important to me. Policy Genius can help you compare different options from the top companies, and they have a team of licensed experts on hand that can talk you through any questions that you're having. With Policy Genius, you can find policies starting at $292 a year for $1 million in coverage. Some of the options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Policy Genius has thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found the perfect fit for their individual needs through Policy Genius. So if you want to save time, save money, and of course, protect your family, head over to policygenius.com/GabeBolt, or you can just click the link down in the description. You can get your free life insurance quote and see how much money you could save. Now let's go back up here.
A hot tub. That's right. When we bought this house, it came with a hot tub. Sweet, right? Didn't even have to pay for it. Therefore, money was not an option. However, we no longer have that hot tub. And that is because hot tubs, much like pets, I'm gonna get so much hate for this, they cost money every month to keep running. Besides that point, you have to maintain the hot water. You have to put chemicals in it, you have to check it, the top thing wears out, and you have to figure out what size the thing is and order a new one, and then about a year later, it already looks like it's falling apart. Not that that happened to me. But there's a lot to maintain when it comes to keeping a hot tub up and running. For the first 6 months, I used it like every single day. It was great. And then Meredith got pregnant, so she couldn't, go in the hot tub with me. And then I had a daughter, and I started to have less and less time to go in the hot tub, and I had already used it like every day for like 6 months or a year. So that thing that I was like, oh, someday I'll be able to get a hot tub. I had a hot tub, and I chose to get rid of it because I didn't really use it all that much. And the upkeep on it with my time, mental energy, making sure it was, clean enough, the maintenance on it was just more than it was worth in order to use the hot tub. And then I also calculated, I know this isn't supposed to be about money, but I also calculated like the cost per use, and it was at like $20 per use if I used it like once a week, and that just totally wasn't worth it. It's not really supposed to be about money, but there's a lot of reasons that any of those things that take a lot of upkeep, unless you use it constantly, are generally not worth having. As I've been able to finally scale my income over the last couple of years, I have had the ability to just be able to buy more stuff. It's the same thing that happens to almost everybody. As your income increases, you are able to buy more stuff. But generally, more stuff just ends up making my life cluttered. I don't need more stuff. I don't want more stuff in my house. If it is free, I don't want it. like seriously, unless it serves some type of purpose in my life, I just don't want more stuff, even if it was all free and it had nothing whatsoever, because a filled house is a stressful house for me. Once you reach a certain point where you have enough to survive and be happy, everything after that is just more of a burden. It's something else to clean, something else to put away that gets left on the floor. I don't want more stuff. A couple other things on that topic of more stuff. I would never buy expensive furniture. This couch was actually given to me for a work project that I had, but we actually just finally bought an actual couch that was not a super expensive one, supposed to be pretty easy to clean. It's actually way more comfortable than this expensive, nicer looking one was. Again, generally those really expensive, custom name brand pieces of furniture, you're gonna have to worry about. You're like, oh no, that's not a couch that we sit on. That's for show. That piano is not meant to be played. A little reference for you. Bet you weren't expecting that reference. But I know so many people who have different pieces of furniture in their house that are not meant to be used. They're like show pieces. And that just doesn't make any sense to me. Regardless of the money, they value this thing so much that they don't want this precious piece of furniture to be ruined. And that is something that we tend to do with expensive stuff, even if it is free. Even if we don't care about the money, we just worry about anything happening to it. And that's never something I want to even cross my mind. We almost got new carpet for our living room downstairs, and we decided against it because we don't want to ever worry about our daughter spilling food on the carpet and us worrying about it. It's not a big deal, and therefore we'll just keep the older carpet until they're past that age, and then, you know, maybe we'll get another one. But I never want to be worried about my stuff. Expensive restaurants. I've been to exactly one really expensive restaurant. It was the most expensive restaurant we could find in Venice. Spent a lot of money for dinner, and while it was fun, it also took like 3 hours. And even now when we go out to eat, we prefer to go to something like Chipotle, get a meal for like 15 bucks rather than go to a nicer restaurant and spend like an hour and a half trying to get a meal. Even besides the monetary aspect of it's gonna cost like 3 or 4 times more, you're gonna have a tip, you're gonna have all this stuff, you're probably gonna have the exact same amount of food. I would just rather have a faster, cheaper version that takes way less time than go to sit down restaurants. This is something that totally not worth it for me right now, on top of how much it costs. If you enjoyed this video, you'll love this video of other things that I do not buy. I think it's good, and I think you will enjoy it. So check it out, and I'll see you next week.